Welcome to Quinntessential Comix, episode 11, book club edition. What? Holla. Disclaimer, I say holla a lot this episode because
holla.
Exactly. This book club episode, the theme is meta comics, so comics that self-reference being a comic or make fun of the comic industry. So that's really cool. We read Invincible volumes 1 through 3 and top 10 volumes 1 and 2, which is the whole series. And it's pretty freaking good, man. Pretty good. And we got a whole panel of awesome people joining us today, and our conversation takes a little longer than we thought. So we're just going to jump right into it. News, upcoming events, new releases, book club, all up in seconds on Quinntessential Comix.
Hi guys, it's Matt with your news for this week. Last week we covered the DC logo thing, and there was a Watchmen logo, and what could that be? Because blah blah, it hasn't been talked about since summer of 2010. Now it's officially announced by DC. They're doing Watchmen prequel, which is called Before Watchmen, which I think is a dumb name, but anyways. There's going to be 7 series. It's going into the lives of the 6 main characters of the original, as well as the Minutemen. So we have Rorschach, Comedian, Dr. Manhattan, Night Owl, Silk Spectre, Ozymandias, and the Minutemen one. There's also going to be a 2-page Curse of the Crimson Corsair thing in the back of every issue. So more pirates. Dave's given this really pained look. So there's going to be new issues published every week for 35 weeks, starting this summer. I really like some of the teaser images they put up, so we'll get some of these going, just a couple or a few. There's also the weird, porny Dr. Manhattan and Silk Spectre thing. I don't know. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding this, obviously, because Alan Moore hates everything that's going on because he got shafted back in the day. I guess find your local forum and bitch about it to each other until everyone's just spent and stupid, because that's fun. Anywho, DC is also changing up talent on their New 52 Dark line. The Animal Man writer Jeff Lemire will take over for Justice League Dark. Peter Milligan, the current writer, will move to Stormwatch. Lemire is also leaving Frankenstein, Agent of Shade, and he's going to be replaced by Matt Kindt. So, we got a fart mouth from Dave. Stop reading everything. And coming out of Marvel, there's a lot of amazing Spider-Man stuff going on. The Sinister Six, headed up by Doc Ock, are getting all crazy, and starting the Ends of the Earth arc, which is possibly going to have a crossover between Amazing Spider-Man and Ultimate, because there's this teaser image. Spider-Man. That's what it is. Spider-Man. This would be the first time in the history of Marvel that they're going to have a crossover between the Ultimate Universe and the regular one. So, maybe it might happen. We'll see. Also, news from 1993. It's exciting. So exciting. The long-running 2002 lawsuit between Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane is finally over. They came to a settlement. The issue was Gaiman wrote an issue of Spawn in 1993 and co-created some characters with McFarlane. There was a lot of royalty issues on there because it was like rights disputes. Blah. It's settled. Do you care? I don't care, but that's news because there's no other news this week. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, so here's what you got this week in your upcoming events in Toronto. Holla! All right, so Friday, February 3rd from 8:30 to 1, there's this event called D-Pad. It's like pop art and pop-up arcade. I haven't been to it. I don't know the organizers, but it sounds really neat. It sounds like artist presentation of like pop culture and stuff. So that should be really cool. And that's at 9 Ossington Avenue at Friday, February 3rd. It's called D-Pad. Check it out. Saturday, February 4th, Little Island Comics is having their first comic book club for kids. They totally saw Quinntessential Comix book club and were like, yeah, we need one of those. Holla. So they're doing a Tintin edition. Members of the book club get 20% off the Tintin books they're reading this month. so check that out. It's at 3 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, February 4th, and it is for kids. It's a kids comic book store, so like, don't be all creepy and show up without a kid. It doesn't work. No, seriously, adults can only attend with the accompaniment of children. Really, role reversal there. What? Also, in theaters this weekend, Phantom Menace 3D, if you guys care. I know. I'm sorry. I had to mention it. It's on our events calendar. That's the last you'll hear of it from me. Also, not this week, but next week, the Nerdist is coming to town. If you want tickets to that event, you should look it up on Facebook and buy tickets in advance because they're selling out fast. Also, they canceled the Thursday show because of scheduling conflicts. So yeah, that is your upcoming events for Toronto this week.
Hi guys, it's Matt again with your weekly releases. From Dark Horse, we have The Mighty Skullboy Army, Volume 2, Trade Paperback. And from DC, we've got Catman, Gates of Gotham, Trade Paperback. Did I say Catman? I meant Batman. We've also got Green Arrow, Salvation, hardcover. And Superman, Reign of Doomsday, hardcover. That means the cover is hard. Vertigo has American Vampire, Volume 3, Trace, number 3, hardcover also. Lots of hardcovers coming out. Ratcatcher Trade, paperback. And Zombie Trade. It's got an X instead of a Z. Z. But you still say zombie. Trust me. From Dynamite Entertainment, comically inclined people. Garth Ennis's Jennifer Blood, Volume 1, trade. And from Image Comics, we have Fractured Fables trade. And Lil Depressed Boy, Volume 2. Yes, Volume 2. Marvel has Fear Itself, Heroes for Hire, hardcover. And Incredible Hulks, Follow the Hulks, hardcover. Many Hulks falling incredibly. Awesome. There's also John Carter 2 here. We got John Carter, Princess of Mars. John Carter is not the Princess of Mars, so if you were wondering. There's also John Carter, World of Mars. John Carter is also not Mars, so those are your releases for this week. Have fun.
Hey, welcome to the Quinntessential Comix Book Club. Woo!
Yay!
Yay!
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. All right, just to go against everything we've done in the last 2 book club episodes, we're going to start from this side. Hey, welcome to Quinntessential Comix. Thanks for being with us here today. Aaron.
Thanks.
What do you do in the comics community?
Oh, I'm a comic book writer and I guess journalist too. I write some articles about it.
Plug?
Yeah. Well, I have an issue of Hardware by Ace Faber coming out very soon. It may even be out by the time this comes out. It's coming out on Wednesday the 8th of February.
Well, this episode's going to come out on Friday, but check it out then. Yo.
I'm sleeping with Alice.
Pretty much, that's the backstory. It's Tish.
Nepotism.
Wait. Nora, you got the good seat.
And, of course, Matt, the co-host. You saw him previously this episode. And Dave, our wonderful cameraman and editor.
And releases.
Former news writer.
Now releases.
So fancy myself a director of sorts. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I count.
Cameraman's directing. Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. All right.
I do a countdown and everything, man. It's very official.
Totally. So let's get started on these books here. This week, our books were recommended by Gavin Stephens, who was going to come on the show, but due to scheduling issues, he can't. But hopefully, maybe he'll come next time. So the theme is like meta comics, like comics that joke about the fact that they are comics and poke fun at like the comics industry. So originally, he recommended Top 10 of the Boys. And I haven't read The Boys, and I wanted to read it, but I also really, really wanted to introduce Invincible to the book club because I feel like it's one of my favorite ongoing series, like, ever. So yeah, let's. What did you guys think? Oh, Lemon's here too, if you can see her. So, what'd you think? Let's start with you, Aaron.
All right. Well, I very much enjoyed both of these.
Oh, sorry. We should start with one of them. Let's start with top 10, and then we'll go into Invincible.
Okay, top 10 for me, I think, is a very cool comic. The way I kind of think of it is, it's maybe not as good as Alan Moore's best work, but it's certainly one of the most dense in that there's so much going on in every page, which is really cool, and he juggles dozens of plot lines at the same time, and I think he's just really competent on this really well done story with really good art. Would you like me to say more?
No, it's cool.
No? Okay.
It's good.
Would you like
we
to
can
know
expand
more?
on that.
Yeah.
So you liked it. Thought it was good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I've read top 10 before. I'm a really big fan. I'm a really big Alan Moore fan. Agreed, it's not some of his strongest work, but I do like the whole, everybody has superpowers sort of world, and just like focusing on this one precinct and all this other crap going on from all sides. If you look at the art in it, every panel, every page is just extremely, extremely busy looking. Like, looking at the backgrounds, there's just so much going on all the time. It's really dense. Dave used a line earlier when the camera was off that I'm going to steal right now. It's like The Wire with superpowers. And The Wire is awesome. Check out The Wire.
I have severe doubts that I'm the first person to make that comparison. I feel like it's probably written on the back in like a quote from the New York Times.
Although this came out before The Wire, though, right?
It's possible. New issues.
Yeah.
New
The Wire is
printings.
actually based on this.
The Wire is based on top
Yeah,
10.
that's where they got it from.
I want to do The Wire, but with black people.
Yeah.
Or do top 10, but with black people.
Honestly, McNulty and Smacks, I didn't see a single difference myself.
Nice.
Especially those times that Smacks and Robin just spent hours drinking Jamesons beside a lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never happened.
If you've read Smacks, then
I haven't read Smacks. I really want to read Smacks the Barbarian.
no spoilers for Smacks.
It's hard to track down because I've only been. I was looking for it a few years ago, and I was only able to get like issues 1, 3, and 5 or something like that. And I couldn't find it in print anywhere. Were you able to buy it at like the store?
I'm really poor. I download
I see.
major releases. And we're off topic.
Now we're talking about Smacks.
I'll talk about top 10 a little. I really liked it. It was really good because like I was on an Alan Moore kick for a while because let's be serious, Alan Moore's like really cool. And just before I read top 10, I read Tom Strong, which was really, really terrible because I was like, oh, Alan Moore, it's gonna be awesome. So I bought it, and it's just sort of like, I don't know, it's really weak. So pretty much after I read Tom Strong, I read top 10, and I was like, yes. And I also really like Toy Box. I think it's an awesome character. My favorite.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that's been said here. I like that it's just really, there's a lot of clever stuff in there, just like little things like stuff in the background or whatever. Like there's one part where he's at the devil worshipping guy is at like the galactic terminal thing, and it's like vacation on infinite Earths.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is just all out like throughout the comic everywhere, like Galactopus when they're doing like that pet thing. It's just it's funny and clever.
I liked how that like side character that has Mr. Fantastic's powers is also a wife abuser.
Yeah. The beach bunny.
He can beat her from afar.
Sigh.
I enjoyed the crossovers between regular comic books and like regular mainstream superhero comic books and these two books. And The Boys as well, the other one that was the other. They always seem to go with the Justice League. There's a lot of like, if you're doing a meta comic, you're going to have some kind of pastiche of the Justice League, and they're usually going to be dicks. It just seems like it has to happen. The Homelander, if you haven't read it and you're tuning in, big spoilers for top 10, the Justice League of Pedophiles. It was kind of creepy. I didn't really see it coming. The second they actually said pedophile in the comics, I was like, oh no.
Oh god. Oh man. Yeah, no.
Oh, Scorchy.
I like that. I like how they took the main thing of comics, which is the superhero team up, and they showed how corrupt it can get. Which is, you can't really get more corrupt than pedophiles.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless they're like selling organs, maybe.
They're selling children's organs.
Children's organs. There you go. There you go. So you get more corrupt.
I could go worse, but this is a family program.
Yeah.
I gotta say that you guys are all the one point that you had that I disagree with was Toy Box as a character. I actually didn't like Toy Box very much. With all the characters going on in it, she was probably the one that I liked the least because I just.
Well, she was the surrogate character, right? Like the character who's new to everything. So you're sort of really supposed to put yourself in her shoes. So she's a little more bland.
I got them kind of trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like Alan Moore kind of tried to do that initially, but because it was so much like you'd split off into these pairings all the time.
You don't see her that much.
Like if she was there all the time, then I kind of get that, but. She kind of like loses that early on. Like you get introduced at the very beginning and she's useful in that respect, but she never really does anything beyond that. Well, she kind of has a box of toys and occasionally makes an arrest. But there was no real character development with her beyond that.
Alright, I agree with you. I'll give you that. I just like Toy Box because, honestly, the whole idea of having like a toy box full of like weapons
that is
freaking awesome, you know? Freaking awesome.
But there was always like a real character defining moment with every other character but Toy Box, I found. Actually, also Smax. Smax doesn't really do a lot, but he's super badass.
He goes through a bit of an arc though.
He does.
He really warms up. I mean, maybe it's a little cheap that it's only because he has a dream.
Yeah.
But I assume a lot of that's also in the miniseries Smax, which unless you're a pirate, you haven't read. So, but
I am a pirate, but I haven't read it. But I will.
Worst pirate.
I really don't want us to all get arrested.
I probably shouldn't have admitted to that on camera.
We'll just dub it over in post.
You meant you downloaded it from the Vertigo website or from the ABC website legally after paying for it, right?
Exactly.
Of course
Yeah.
I did.
I spend money on
I even
comic
got
books.
Alan Moore's handshake approval.
Oh, that's
That's really
think-
notable considering he's like a hermit and doesn't talk to anyone.
I went to Northampton and we practiced magic together.
Yeah, you say hermit, I say wizard.
yeah.
Solitary bearded wizard living in England.
And we talked about how he had a shark lawyer named Larry Fishman.
That guy.
Shark lawyer, also Jewish. Thanks, Alan Moore.
I loved the racism theme shown through the robots in it because it was such a lighthearted take on something so serious.
Yeah.
And God, did that wisecracking P.I. Joe or no Joe P.I.
Yeah.
The robot just he kicked my ass. He floored me. Everything that came out of that robot's mouth was gold.
Even the lyrics of the robot, like the clicker music, is so well done and well thought out.
Yeah.
Like which
All the music really in the background was really good.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to compare it already.
We can start comparing it.
But I'll say one thing I noticed was that, and it's maybe not fair to say, Kirkman versus Moore, because one of them's been writing for, 30, 40 years, and the other one's been writing for 10 or so, maybe a little bit more, is that one thing that Kirkman does, he has like a few good ideas that are his story, and Alan Moore just sort of has a story, and just every page there's a new idea.
Yeah. There's so many, amazing little tidbits. Like, as we said before, there's so much crammed into each panel that if you look in the background, there's always something interesting going on.
Yeah. Now, some of that may be his artists as well. I don't think we're giving credit to.
I think the biggest point to make with that is just how long it took to read them comparatively.
Yeah.
It's the same number of issues, it's the same number of paper printed on, but I flew through Invincible. Invincible took me half an hour. Top 10, I spent a couple days trying to get through the whole thing, and I couldn't put it down, but it just took a long time to really soak it in and read everything. And then I'd read something and be like, oh, I want to read that again.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, no, that's very
Talk to me,
definitely
wisecracking
indicative of Alan Moore style. I remember when I was reading Promethea, and in the background of Promethea, they're in a city, and there's always these weeping gorilla billboards. I don't know if you guys have read Promethea, and the weeping gorilla is just freaking hilarious. It's just this depressed gorilla on these billboards everywhere.
It's like the hot comic in that world. People like this sort of postmodern.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So freaking hilarious. So yeah, it's just chock full of awesome. Chock
But at the same time, even though they were a quick read, it's not taking anything away from Invincible, because I think if Invincible was an in-depth read, it would lose kind of the idea of being a fun comic book.
They're different in that sense because Top 10 is more, I guess, futuristic, and it's also, again, there's a lot more jammed in. There's a lot more characters, there's a lot more in each panel, and there's just a lot more going on in the story. Whereas I feel Invincible, it's simplistic for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, there's even a page in there where Mark / Invincible is thinking, right? And he's talking to someone, and it really just looks like they copy-pasted a couple panels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they called themselves out on that.
They did. And I feel like that's a part of it, you know, and it drives focus to the characters rather than the scenes themselves.
I think a good comparison to make would be that Invincible would be just a really good, nerdy, standout TV show on like NBC or something, whereas Top 10 is like an HBO drama.
Yeah. To me, it's a bit of a shame that they did the Murder of the Guardians of the Globe so violently, and I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but because if it weren't for that, I'd really say that Invincible should be for people, like young people getting into comics for kids and stuff, because it's just so innocent, and it's not like bad, but it's very simple. And once you do that, you kind of, they can't read it, so it's really for adults who just don't want to think too much when they read it.
It's a very niche audience.
Which, I mean, that's a little cruel way of putting it, but
as opposed
to this one, which it's just sort of, there's a lot to it. Like, anyone should read it and get something from it, and it's less violent than minus when Girl 1 gets killed than Invincible.
Not quite. There were some decapitations and like
in Invincible.
No, in
Top 10.
Top 10.
Yeah, there were the headless hookers.
Oh,
but you don't really ever see it too much of the headless hookers.
You see like one.
It's more implied.
You see the headless.
Hooker.
Yeah,
You see the shelf of heads.
the shelf of heads is a little bit.
Top 10 doesn't rely on like shocking gore moments like Invincible does. Top 10's kind of like heavy subject matter, and it's more what you don't see. Like they only show one. Like, you never really see anyone like outright get killed, I think, until Girl 1.
Yeah, that's
like it's always a body on the scene. It's about as gory as like Law and Order.
And or I guess the
CSI
two people
or
fused
Bones.
together, you see them get. But even that's not violent. It's just sad.
It's like Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
I feel like
that did seem like a Star Trek
Invincible,
episode.
it does rely on the gore as a shock factor.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really good thing about it. And actually, I'd love to move on to Invincible, unless you guys have anything more to say about Top 10.
Cool. We might come back.
Maybe.
We'll keep comparing. Yeah. Would you guys recommend it to our viewers?
Top 10.
Most def.
Yeah.
Most def.
I'd say make sure you've read a few comics. You don't need to, but it will really enhance it. All the little Easter eggs in the background, things like that.
You won't understand how funny the songs are unless you like read comic books.
Or like
Or why it's funny to see a mime on the street who's dressed like Black Bolt or something like that.
That's true, exactly.
Or a mouse that looks like the Martian Manhunter.
Martian Mouse Hunter?
Yeah.
Or Meissen Manhunter?
Meissen?
The Meissen Manhunter?
I love that.
Of Mice and Men Hunters. I want it.
So did you guys like Invincible?
Yeah.
Also really, really good. Mm-hmm. Really strong.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, I liked it, but...
It was sort of like a meh.
I think what it was is he had, like, probably a great pitch, because I think that there's one amazing thing in it, the great twist, where I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And that's, in the third trade, the big thing with the dad.
Yeah. I think the idea is that everyone who's watching has read the comics.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So we can spoil things.
Dad
is evil.
When, it turns out that the Superman character is actually an alien who's going to invade the world.
Yeah, he's planted there to watch over the world.
But I think there's a lot of it. I think he's gotten better as a writer since this, but I think also he likes his jokes a lot and will have people say it out loud a lot. And I think he still does that a lot with his dialogue. They just say everything that they're thinking.
Rather than having it be implied.
Sure, yeah, exactly. It's a little less subtle, I guess. So there was that. And there was sort of like, when they go to campus, like a big skeleton monster shows up and impales itself, and it doesn't really do much. I mean, I know they come back to it like later on, but it was just sort of a lot of superhero-y things happening that you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a superhero thing, without really calling attention to itself and stuff. I did like things like his friend knowing he was invincible. Goes, oh yeah, so you never told me you were, you know, and oh, you know, and the fact that he wanted to be taken on, you know, flights, like to be carried around.
He's like, you know, can we do it? Can we do it?
But I think that, I mean, that's over 13 issues, and it just, there wasn't as much, and I kind of want more per comic, because the Guardians of the Globe issue, which is sort of the big twist, that's all it is, you know, besides showing these sort of...
Yeah, that's why I had to say the first 3 graphic novels instead of the first one.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I read the first one, I was already hooked. I was like, what? A superhero with parents? Because, you know, like, if you look at any superhero, the reason they have so much dedication and go out and do the shit they do is because Batman's parents were killed,
Spider-Man's parents were killed,
and
Spider-Man's parents, and then his surrogate parents.
Because of him.
Yeah.
Aunt May doesn't count.
Yeah, she dies like every other day.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben totally counts. So yeah, it was just really odd because like superheroes don't have parents.
I mean,
they just don't.
when did The Incredibles come out? Like that was
2004.
Like 2004. When was this written?
The first one? I don't know. Let's take a look at
Boosh.
it.
I wish I had done more research on it,
Yeah.
because once you get to the twist with the dad being evil in the first place,
The
did
front of
anyone
this
else
one's ripped out. I'm going to go for the second one.
did anyone else
You can guesstimate from that.
read Runaways?
Yeah, well, that's what
Yeah.
I was going to say. Also, that Runaways. I mean, I read it before I read Invincible. And I read Invincible
2004.
since the beginning. So,
Oh my.
so for me, it wasn't a huge thing. Like the idea of the superhero family, I've
Yeah.
seen before. So, yeah, that's my. Yeah, it's good, but it's not the best.
I just feel like it's like I really want to read after the 3rd volume because I'm hooked now. But I feel like it's probably going to get a Runaways-ish sort of flavor to it because you find out the dad's evil and he's sort of like both like rebelling against his dad, and I don't know, maybe he's going to try to like atone for what his dad's doing. Or
The dad's heel turn, initially I absolutely loved it. By the end, when he's crying in space, I was kind of upset by it.
Just crying up in space.
When it first happened, when they first reveal him as the guy who killed the Guardians of the Globe, and he's covered in their blood, I was like, they're gonna play this off. It's gonna
Like
be
a clone or
mind control or something dumb. And then he's just friggin' evil. And I loved it. And I was like, yes, it turns out he's a lunatic that wants to destroy the Earth. Good, Invincible, kill. But I don't want them to have, like, I'm sure later in the comics his dad comes back and maybe has a redeeming moment. I just want his dad to be a dick.
How many people have read, like, are more or less caught up or have read past?
I'm caught up to volume 14.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the others on order.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but I'll say they do cool things with it.
Okay.
That isn't quite that simple.
What I really like about Invincible overall is the fact that it's masquerading as like a regular superhero comic.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing is that, you know, like it just plays itself off as, like whatever superhero comic, but there's more to it, and it takes the idea of like what a regular superhero comic is, and I feel like it really spins it on its head a little.
It does quite a bit. I don't think it does that quite as much as Top 10. Again, because
that one's like super.
Yeah, it's super like in on its own jokes, what have you.
But I don't think it does it as much. I mean, sorry,
Invincible kind of it does feel like a regular comic book. It's got its own story. It's an ongoing series. You like base characters, a lot of things that you've seen a lot before, but it does also make reference to itself a lot.
What I was going to say is, like, it doesn't do it as much as Top 10, and that's fair, but I also don't think it does it as much as, say, like, The Watchmen, which came out 30 years ago. And I'm not saying, everything has to be The Watchmen, but just some of these, like the things it's poking fun of, are the same things that you're kind of used to them poking fun of in Incredibles or The Watchmen or whatever came out in between. But And so every now and then it does something cool. It's like, oh, well, why didn't you just do this? And then you're like, oh, I never thought about that. But that's pretty rare for this one. I feel like I'm the most negative against this book.
Well, it's really funny because Tish's are like sitting critic.
I was waiting for my turn to get onto my issues with Invincible.
There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Here's your spotlight. Here's your spotlight.
Okay, so overall, I did like it. It's a fun book. It's fun. But, I'm not a big fan of the art, like, at least for now. It's very, very blocky.
The second artist is better and gets better. Like, because there's a jump, I think, after the Guardians of the Globe die, to a newer artist who's much more... Fluid? Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I do totally agree with the first trade.
Yeah.
It's pretty blocky.
It's really distracting. Second of all, you're going to hate me for this, but I had feminist problems with it. I didn't think any of the female characters were compelling. The love interest, Adam Eve, is... They haven't gotten together yet, but you know that Invincible and Adam Eve are going to get together, and that's the only reason she's there. She wears like a jumpsuit with no pants.
You don't like Monster Girl?
Monster Girl was pretty cool.
Great, but she's only in the because she's cool later on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm leaving myself open to read more because I know it's only the first 3 trade paperbacks. What other female characters are there?
I like the mom.
His mom.
I think she's interesting.
Duplicate's a hussy.
Duplicate's a super hoe. But she can also turn herself into many hoes, so there is that appeal.
But okay, maybe the mom develops a personality over time. But for the first 13 issues, she has no personality. She's just be there to be like, oh, I'm Mary Homemaker. I'm just going to have dinner ready for you once you're done with your
I think there was a lot more to it than that, though, for her.
Escapades.
Because I've read all this before, and then I reread the first 3 trades, and there were 2 things that, in terms of what you're saying, that surprised me. One was how bland Adam Eve was. I sort of remembered them having chemistry and stuff, and not really. She's just the pretty girl.
She doesn't have personality.
She is the pretty girl.
Who her boyfriend dumps her, and then she's mad for a while, and then likes Mark, but he's dating someone else. Like, it's just, there really was, I was surprised, looking back, how little character there was there. But also I was surprised that there was actually a lot to the mom. Her putting on a brave face for the family when she's actually going through a lot.
Yeah, it's like, she'll be all like, all right guys, have a great day, I'll see you guys at dinner, and they'll go into a portal and fight shit for like a month and a half and then come back.
But you can also see, and this is at his subtle, like that it affects her when he'll like the husband will be like, oh, I was in another dimension, I gotta go shave, and she'll be crying like, oh, thank God, just for one panel.
I
was gonna say there's always that whenever you see the mom and you see that like they leave and
there's that one panel.
There's always that one panel where it's just her alone,
like it lingers.
She never says anything. There's not even that much of a change in her expression, but
and what she sort of goes through in the last trade, I mean, she doesn't handle it super well at the beginning, but she just goes kind of more or less catatonic. But I think that it's a lot to go through, and I think it makes her character interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily love when they were just having sex a lot.
I also had issues with her being the dad's sex toy for maybe 2 issues.
Yeah. Well, I think it's even worse when he's like, oh, I didn't even love her. Like, she was just a pet.
Yeah, he was so fucking mean to her.
But that's why he cried in space.
Oh. Yeah. He was so mean.
That was why he had space tears. That should have frozen.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. So, this is, a good, I don't know, it's not, if you're looking for more punch for your issue, this isn't the comic you should read. But if you're looking for something that develops really well over time and really just takes the comic interesting places where you didn't think it was going to go, that's what I really like about it. It's just the plot turns they take are just, I feel, unexpected, you know? Like, I didn't expect the Guardians of the Globe thing, and then, what's-his-face, Cecil approaching him after was expected, but the stuff that they bring up later in the comic, it always really blows me away where they take the story.
This is the first time I've read Invincible, and what excited me about it was like right after I got the first 3 and read them, I then went back to the library because I'd seen that they had a couple copies just on the shelf, and I was like, okay, I hope they have book 4, and then the first one I pulled was book 11. There's a crap load of this. It just keeps going, and I'm really excited. I know, I've been excited about reading something.
I'm on volume 14 right now. It's still awesome.
But what I would say, though, is that there is a lot, but not, like, if I look back on the series, I can remember maybe, like, 4 or 5 great moments in the 88 issues that have come out, which is, I mean, that's the thing. He takes his time, and in a way, I do like that, for example, if this was made nowadays, maybe the first issue, by the end you would have found out that Omni-Man was evil just because they had to get it out there and give you the twist so they don't get canceled. So I do like that they took their time so that you actually really think it's the status quo. But at the same time, it's a lot of reading, but by the end you'll only feel 5 cool events happier than... or something. And, you may disagree, but...
It is a fairly quick read, but I also feel like because there's time in between the huge events, that I feel like he gets to develop the characters more in between that, and you get to know the characters better. But then again, he doesn't do it as well as he could. Yeah. He takes his time.
Sure, because I think that you can develop a character while running them through stuff, which is what they do in Top 10. It's that, there's never an episode where 2 people just talk. If so, it'll be while one of them's dying or whatever. He's very efficient. Again, he's been writing for probably 30 years more than Robert Kirkman. So
there's always a matter of what mood you're in. Like sometimes I want to watch The Wire, but sometimes I want to have a marathon of Chuck. So Invincible is a fun read that you can do, whereas Top 10 is more in depth. So there's times where I don't want to read something in depth. I want to read something that's just enjoyable.
Because
familiar characters.
I may not be in the mood for The Wire, but I'll still want to watch something like Arrested Development, which is if I'm in the mood to laugh, which is pretty.
Whatevs, I like Chuck.
I haven't seen Chuck, so I don't.
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
I watched a whole season without laughing, and then I was just like, wait, why am I doing this? It was
really, you didn't.
Arrested Development's fantastic.
I don't like that awkward humor. It just
so we're not taking any of Alice's input anymore.
No. So she did like this, but she also doesn't like Arrested Development.
Walk off.
So you should read this if you.
It's not room to storm out.
I think we just lost views somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't get. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So if you're looking for an in-depth meta read, Top 10. If you're looking for a cool superhero thing that's also sort of meta, Invincible. Would you guys recommend Invincible to your friends or to our viewers?
I wouldn't recommend it to my friends, but I recommend it to our viewers.
Do your friends not read comics?
A lot of my friends, when they read comics, I think they read Invincible and just be like, nah, it's just the same old garbage. I gave it a chance and I very much enjoyed it. I think it's a particular taste. It's something you have to want to read a lot of.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you haven't. I know you've just been nodding and smiling, but yeah, it'd be cool if you said that you liked it or didn't like it.
I actually like them both. I like Top 10 more, but I'd recommend both to my friends and viewers.
Yeah. Like I said, they're different reads depending on the mood you're in, but I would recommend both.
Yeah, I did really like both of them. I think this is the first book club where we've liked everything we've read, as opposed to liking one thing and hating the other. But, I would definitely recommend Top 10 to my friends and viewers. I would recommend Invincible to viewers and some of my friends, not my feminist friends, because they would get really angry about the Wonder Woman avatar being a lesbian who's shown naked. Just so she can have a love thing with another woman scantily clad. And I'm done with my feminist rant.
I would obviously recommend Top 10. To Invincible, I'd say that if someone has already read a lot of superhero comics, that I wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't offer something new. But if someone wanted to get into superhero comics, I'd recommend this over, let's say, Spider-Man or anything else, because I think it's fairly pure. So, yeah.
It's kind of a flip side to that, though, because they might not be in on all the jokes.
Yeah.
But I think that I think
it's not like they're very complex.
They're not
jokes,
very
but
like everyone knows the superhero trope because they've seen the Spider-Man movie or Incredibles.
Justice League.
Yeah,
limited
exactly.
on TV.
Like they know Damsel in Distress, they know that. So it's not like specific references to stuff. But I know what you're saying because it does do a bit of a send up of itself. So yeah.
Cool. So those are books for this book club edition, February.
Yeah.
Or is this a January edition?
It's actually March.
It's February.
It's February.
I know it's February.
It is
1st.
February, but they were reading it. We were reading it during January. Is that what you mean?
I think it is the January edition because
it'll be
it
the
turns out the
February.
fourth Wednesday was
Because we were
February
reading
1st.
all January, and now we'll read all
February. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining us for the meta edition of Quintessential Comics Book Club. If you want to recommend us a book to read, we actually have a dedicated book club page on the website under Quintessential Comics. It's also quintessential-comics-book-club. If you want to type it out. There's a lot of dashes. So you can recommend us books there for next book club, or you can find my email and email me if you want to come and sit up with us and then chat about books of the month, man. So thanks for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our group chat.
Hooray.
Thanks for joining us for episode 11 of Quintessential Comics Book Club Edition. We hope you've enjoyed it. As I said in the book club, if you have recommendations, just reply on the book club page or send me an email. And I talk with my hands, so the microphone's all over the place. So sorry about the sound.
Sorry about the hats.
Sorry about the hats. It grew on us. Literally, they appeared overnight. Join us next week for another awesome episode of Quintessential Comics. Friday, lunchtime. Holla! Hey, you might be wondering, what? The episode just ended. Why are you back here? Well, I'm telling you the ways you can support Quintessential Comics online. If you care to, please do check out our various sites and like and or comment on these videos and or other stuff I do. Firstly, check out Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, or the website. Thanks for your support. Love ya!